In this video, I'm going to show you how with my estimating sheets, you can have them be automatically created, filled out, and organized, so you no longer have to do that manually. I'm going to show you how to do it with my CRM, but this process and system should work with any software or program that you're currently using. So let me just demonstrate this real quick. You'll see in this sales folder I have in this drive, there's just that one folder in there. I'm going to go to the CRM. I'm just going to move this fake 2 over to estimate set. And now I'm going to go back to that drive. And now you can see this fake 2 folder is created there. And if we open it up, it also made a copy of my exterior estimate sheet. And that's because this fake 2 is labeled as an exterior. And furthermore, when I open this up, it pre-filled out all the information from this fake 2 with the information from the CRM. The other really cool thing that it does is in the CRM, it'll create this link right here. And if we click that link, it'll take us into the drive, into that folder. So this is great because it's going to save you tons of time. You don't have to copy sheets anymore or pre-fill them out. And it'll also keep it all organized so you can quickly go there and access it. That way all your estimates set are ready to go. Like when you get to the house, you don't have to create a new contract or pre-fill anything out. So in order for this to work, you do have to link Zapier to it, which Zapier does charge per zap, so be aware of that. In the lesson, there'll be a link. And if you click that link, it's going to take you to this shared Zap I created, and you'll see this. And you can see it's describing what it'll do. So I'm going to say, try this Zap, and they'll preload this in there for you. So this Zap I created is pretty basic because Zapier won't allow you to include certain things like paths when you share a Zap. So this is really set up for one estimator, but if you have multiple estimators, I'll show you at the end how you would do that. So if you're unfamiliar with Zapier, the first step in a Zap is what's called a trigger, and the trigger is what makes everything go or what starts it. And there's a couple ways you can have a trigger or starting point for this example. And essentially what we're trying to do is say, hey, when this happens, run this Zap. So if the software or program or system you're using has an app in Zapier and it has a trigger, like my CRM here, you can just use that. There's some configurations like when do you want it to start? So in my case, it's when a lead is moved to estimate set. So when an estimate gets set, do this is what I'm saying. Now, if your system or software doesn't have a trigger, you can still most likely do it. You're going to want to use a webhook, which you could Google with whatever you're using, like how to get your system to initiate a webhook so that it can trigger something. What's going to be easiest is just if whatever CRM you're using can automatically trigger a Zap. But I'll show you how to do it with the webhook just so I can show off some of the automations that are possible with my CRM and how you could really do some advanced customizations with it. So this first step here is catching a webhook. So in your CRM, if you go to automation and then go to onboarding, go to these webhook data out examples, you'll see this one labeled example, create folder, and estimate in Google Drive for set estimates. Go ahead and open that up and you'll see this. So what this is saying is the trigger, what makes this start to work is when in the leads pipeline, a lead is put under estimate set or moved to estimate set. So what I mean by that is when one of these leads gets put on estimate set, that's going to trigger that automation. Now, if you set a contact up with an appointment with an estimator, that's going to automatically move that lead to estimate set, which will then make that automation run. Or you can manually move it over or click here and change the stage to estimate set. You can even just add the tag estimate set to a contact, which will move the lead over to estimate set. So it doesn't matter how it gets there, just when a lead gets put in that estimate set stage right here, this will fire, this automation will run. And then it comes down to this if-else function, which is like a splitter, has multiple paths. So if we open this up, we can see what's going on. This first line right here, this first path is saying if the type of work is residential exterior or type of work is commercial exterior. So what I mean by that is if we look at a contact, this type of work, if it's set to exterior, whether it's residential or commercial, then it's going to go down this path right here. Second one is interior, and third one is actually both or other, which it'll make more sense in a minute, but what we're going to do is say, hey, if it's exterior, make a copy of the exterior sheet. If it's interior, make a copy of the interior sheet. And if it's both or some other variation, just to be safe, go ahead and make a copy of both sheets. So this webhook right here, if you open it up, it's going to say example.com. So we want to get a URL to put in there, which is going to come from Zapier. So if we click on this first action here, it's going to give you a webhook URL. So you're going to copy this and you're going to drop it into this guy right here. And I'm going to press save. Okay, and now we're going to want to publish this automation. You could change the name if you want, like I'd probably get rid of this example here, but just make sure you switch this to publish and press save so that this will actually run. Now we want to send data to this webhook, to this URL right here, and then Zapier is gonna take in that information and catch it. I'll just go ahead and use this fake 2 right here. The one thing we want to make sure that it works properly is that the type of work is set to exterior, because we're going to set the exterior up first. So it could be residential or commercial exterior. I'm just going to put it there and make sure I press save and it's set to there. And then it's best practice when you're setting this up to fill out all the useful information that will be used. So I would go ahead and, even if it's a dummy address like I've done here, put in fake information when you're setting this up, or you can use a real contact, but I would put all that information in here. All right, and now we want to move the lead into estimate set. So I'm going to take this fake 2 and I'm just going to bring it over to estimate set right there. Now that will trigger that automation, this guy right here. And you can even go to execution logs and make sure that it did trigger. We can see this was it right here. It got added to the workflow, went through the if else, and then it got pushed to that webhook. So now we can go back to our Zapier and we're going to say test trigger, and you should see this right here, request A, which is saying, hey, something came through, like something was sent to that URL, and that was what we just did. And now we can map this stuff out. So I'm going to click continue with selected record. And now we're on step 2 right here, which is find a folder in the Google Drive. All right, so you'll see this, it'll say app and event is Google Drive, find folder. I'm gonna press continue. Now the account, you're gonna have to connect this to your Google Drive. It'll bring up a pop-up and you're gonna sign in. After it's connected, go ahead and press continue. Now what this step is it's gonna do 2 things. One, it's gonna first see, hey, is there already a folder for this client? And if it is, then find that folder and we're gonna use it later. But if you look and you don't see a folder for the client already, then what this thing right here is saying is go ahead and create a folder. Now you don't have to set it up this way. You'll see later why I'm setting it up this way, but you could just always say create a folder. That way it doesn't matter if this client already has a folder, it'll just create a new one. But for some other automations I'll explain at the end, it might be helpful to just find the folder and put it in there. For instance, let's say you're at the estimate, it was exterior, but now they want an interior. You could just click a button or do an action on the CRM and have it automatically create an interior estimate and just drop it right into their folder if you use this find a folder function. But let's go back to my drive. This is just a dummy drive I haven't looked at in a while. So I'm just going to create a new folder called sales. The way my company works, we have team drives. We've got one for sales. Every single estimator has their own sales folder. It's labeled their name. But if you're just a one-man show, you could just have one folder called sales or whatever you want to call it. But I'm just going to, for this purpose, show you that I'm going to create this sales folder right here in this drive. So now in my Zap, we're going to say folder name, and we want to create a folder that is specific to that client. So what's easy to use is their name. So when you click here, you could type something in, or what we're actually going to do is use this step 1. We're going to click here, and all that information that the CRM sent through the webhook to Zapier is right here. So you can just search through here. You can even type like name, and it'll pull up stuff with name. We got first name, last name, full name. So I'm going to click full name. Now you could, if you want, be even more descriptive than that, because sometimes there is 2 John Smiths, and you could run into the issue of like, oh, I don't see it, and it's like, oh, I put it in the other John Smiths folder. So if you wanted, it's totally up to you. You could use something else like dash and then their phone number or what city they live in or something like that, the date created. If you wanted, whatever you like, you can do that. Just for simplicity reasons, I'm just going to use the first name here and go with that. All right, so search type means, do we want it to just contain the full name or do we want it to be exactly the full name? I would use exact match. Now your drive is, if you're using the free version, it's just one My Google Drive. If you're using Workspaces, you'll have team drives, and here's where you'd select what team drive you want it to look in. Since this is a free version, Google I'm doing for the example, I'm just going to click My Google Drive. Now the parent folder is that folder I just created, that sales folder. So we're going to say, hey, look in my drive and look in this folder, that sales folder that I just created. So it's going to look in this folder for another folder named whatever the contact's name is. And then I've got this here that says create a Google Drive folder if one doesn't exist yet. So if it doesn't find one, it's going to create one. So I'm going to press continue, and it's always best to test these as you're going. So I'm going to press test step and make sure it works. So what should happen is in here, it should create a folder and it should call it the full name of the contact. So I'm going to click that. And now you can see this folder called fake2 is in there. So now I'm going to press continue. And now we want to find a file in the Google Drive. Now this is your template for estimating. So in this case, we're setting up exterior. So we're going to say find the exterior measurement sheet template so that we can make a copy of it later, which is going to be the next step here. But first we have to tell Zapier to find it. We're going to hit continue. This is the account. We're still logged into there. Now the action is the file name. I would go to your drive, find your measurement sheet template, and copy the name of it exactly. So it's just the exact name. Come back to here, and I'm going to just say paste. So it's saying, hey, find this file name. All right, for search type, you're going to hit exact. Now the drive, again, it's in this case my Google Drive. I don't have team drives. Now most likely if you're using the drive, your exterior sheet is going to be in a folder, and this is where you'd select the folder. However, in this example, I don't actually have it in a folder, so I'm going to leave it blank. So for file type, we're going to tell it we're looking for a Google Sheet. And then should this step be considered a success if nothing is found, you're definitely going to put no there. And basically if you accidentally change the name of your template and the Zap tries to run and doesn't find it, it's going to send you an email saying, hey, step 3 here failed. And then it'll be easy to figure out, oh, that's why it failed, and you can make the adjustments. This create a Google Drive file if one doesn't exist, we do not want that on. So just press continue. Now we're going to test the step and make sure that it's successful. All right, so now I'm going to press continue, and now we want to make a copy of this file in the drive. So we're going to press continue again. We're on the right account. Now it's asking, what file do you want me to copy? And we want to say, hey, the file we found in step 3, we want to copy that. So you click here and you'll actually press custom, and we're going to say, hey, look in step 3, and then the ID, this one right here, we're going to say copy that file. Now for file name, the new estimate sheet it's going to create, it's going to copy and have a new one. What do we want to name it? That's what we're going to put in here. And I'm going to use step 1 here, and I'm going to search for that full name right here. And again, you could call this whatever you want. Just again, for simplicity, I'm going to do a dash and say exterior. Now it wants to know, where do you want me to put that copy file? So again, if you have team drives, you're going to want to select what drive, and then you're going to say the folder, which is the one that we created in step 2 here. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to go custom, and I'm going to say step 2, where we either found the folder or created a folder. That ID, that's where I want you to put the file, is what we're saying here. Now I'm going to press continue, and then we're going to test this. So when we go to the drive and I go to sales and I open up this folder it created, it should create a copy, and you can see it just did it right there, of my template folder. So you can see it created the copy there. So that was a success. So we're going to press continue. All right, so the next step is updating a spreadsheet row. And what we want to do here is we want to fill out the information on this contract automatically. So just press continue. Google Sheets is kind of separate. It's the same account, so you're just going to have to sign in again. You'll get a pop-up, sign into your Google, and then press continue. So now it's asking, what spreadsheet do you want me to update? So we're going to say what Google Drive it's in. And then the spreadsheet, we're going to say, hey, the spreadsheet that we made in step 4. So we're going to click here. We're going to go to custom. We're going to say step 4, and we're going to click on that ID. We're saying we want it to update that spreadsheet, the one we just made a copy of. Now the worksheet is saying, hey, what tab do you want to update? So we want to update the contract. So I'm going to say contract. Okay, and then this will pop up and it's asking, what cell do you want to update? So if you go down to the bottom, you'll notice here is where it says row number. So if we look here and we click where we want it to update, right? If I click here, it'll show you what is highlighted here, and we want this first one. We want C4, right? We want C4. That's where we want it to fill in information. So if I go back to Zapier, I'm going to put row 4 by clicking here, and then I'll just like click here and just type in 4. And then I'm going to go up to C, and this is where we want to put something in, and we're going to want to put the name in here. So I'm going to click on step 1, and I'm going to search for that full name again. Fake2, boom. We're going to drop that in there. press continue. We're going to test this step. And when we test it, we should see it put in the name right there. So let's say test. I'll open this up and you should be able to see. There you go. It popped in. So that worked. So we can go on to the next step, continue. And we're going to fill in each row. So this row is filled in. Now we want to do row 5. And here we want to enter the street, the city, the state, and the zip code. All right, so let's go to Zapier. Continue. Again, saying the Google Drive. The spreadsheet I want to update is the one that we found in step 4. We want to update the contract tab. And sometimes the row will pop up on top. You just need to find the row and say which one you want to update. In this case, we're wanting to update row 5. So I'll click there. And the first one I want to do is C. So I'm going to go to C and I'm going to click on 1. And now we want the address. So I'll just start typing address. And we don't actually want the full address. We just want the address with the numbers and street name. So I'm going to click there. And now the next thing we want to update is S. And we want the city. So I'm going to go down to S. And I'm going to click on 1. And I'm going to type in city. Now be careful. There's the contact city and then the city where your business is located. So you want to click city, not location city. Put that there. And then the next thing will be the state, unless it's pre-filled. So AB, let's go back, go to AB. I'm going to click here and type in state. Now, if the contact didn't have a state, meaning if you went to this contact and state here was blank, then you won't actually have anything in the webhook. Like you won't be able to find a state. It isn't blank, it's just not there. So just be aware of that. That's why I say you want to fill out the information and then run the automation so it pushes the webhook to Zapier. You can do it again if you didn't the first time. Just fill everything out, do it again. All right, so I'm going to put state. All right, and then the last thing is the zip code. So that's AG. So I'll go down to AG. And in the CRM, it's actually labeled postal code. So I'm just going to type post. And we got postal code right here. And now we're going to press continue and test this and see what happens. Make sure it gets mapped correctly. Yep, it's all mapped in there correctly. All right, next thing is the email. So you can see it's just the same thing over and over. Pretty easy. Go to 7, continue. The drive, the spreadsheet is step 4. The worksheet is the contract. The row is 6. And we want to update C. We're going to look in step 1 and we're looking for the email. So here it is right here. All right, and then we also will want to put the representative in there, and that is on AA. So I'm going to come back to Zapier, go down to AA, click on step 1, and now we want to find the name of the representative, which could be a couple things. One is the estimator or the assigned user. Both will work, so I'll just use the user, press continue, test step, and we can see it filled it in. All right, so the next step is this number formatters. And what we want to do is format the numbers so that they look a certain way in here. So I'm going to click this guy. All right, and then for transform, you're going to click there and you're going to say, we want to format the phone number. And it wants the input. So I'm going to click here, go to step 1, and I'm going to find the phone number of the contact, put that in there. And then how do we want to format it? You can pick how you like it. I prefer the parentheses for the beginning, but whatever you like most. So I'm going to click that one and then I'm going to press continue and then I'll press test and it'll show you the output. So this is what the output was, which looks correct to me. One other thing with all of these steps is you can actually change the name to help you remember and stuff. When you make a copy of the Zap, it loses all the names that I already pre-entered in there. So just so that I can remember, I'm going to call this format the contact's phone number. Press continue. Now I want to format the actual user's phone number. So I'm going to do the same thing. Press continue. Click here and go to phone numbers. Input this time, I'm going to be looking for the user's phone number. So I'll type in user and user phone. I'll do that same format as before. Press continue and test it. Make sure it comes out the way I'd expect. It did. Again, I'll change the name here to user's phone. Press continue. And now we're going to update this row 7 with the phone numbers. So continue. My drive. We are looking for the spreadsheet we did in number 4. Worksheet is contact again. The row this time is 7. And we're going to do C. And for C, we actually want to put in the contact's phone number. So instead of going to 1, I'm going to go to step 8. And I'm going to say I want to use the output of step 8. And then the cell for The representative is AA. So let's go down to AA. And this time we want to do step 9. So I'll go to step 9 and do that output. And then I'm going to press continue. Let's test this. All right, it put the numbers in there, formatted the way I'd want. Now this is a really cool step and it's a little bit different. So we're going to press continue. We're going to find that folder. It's in my drive. It's the spreadsheet we created in step 4. Now the difference with this one is the worksheet is actually going to be this calendar sheet. Even if you're not using it to push to calendars, this is where that information will go. And it's going to be this cell right here. And you can see this cell is where the contact ID goes if you're setting up the CRM to auto create estimates. And you'll see how this ties together in a sec. But I'm going to say I want to do calendar sheet 17A. So let's go. Worksheet is now going to be calendar sheet row 17. And these are the headers, and it's saying that because this is name and fake 2. So we want it under the name header, which is A. So I'm going to right here put in a special value. And what we want this to be is a link, a URL link that goes to the contact in the CRM. So in the lessons notes, that link will be there for you to copy paste, but I'll show you how to do it even if you didn't have that. So I'm in the CRM here and I'm on the contact fake 2. And you'll notice when you're on a contact, the URL is formatted like this. So I'm going to grab this URL and I'm going to say copy. Now I'm going to go to my Zap and I'm going to paste that in. But we don't want to use that. We actually want to make it dynamic so it'll work for any contact. So this random set of characters is your contact ID. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to press delete. And now I'm going to search for the contact ID in here. And it's right here, contact ID. And now, no matter what contact it is, it'll go there. And now I'm going to press continue and let's test this step. And what we should see is a URL got dropped into that cell there. And if I click on that URL, it should take you to that contact, which it did. All right, so we're almost done. We have one last step that isn't actually already in there because when I share a Zap, it doesn't allow me to put it in there. But this is where we're actually going to link this back to the CRM. So we're going to say add step and search for Paint Pals. All right, and the event we want to do is actually add/update the contact. So just do that, press continue, link your account if it's not already linked. All right, and now what we wanted to do is actually find the contact in the CRM. And the way the CRM is going to search for it is with the email and phone number. So I would put in both just because sometimes you might only have an email or you might only have a phone number, but that's the unique identifier for the contact. You don't want to use the name because it won't work. And a lot of times, yeah, there are like 2 John Smiths. So I'm going to go to phone number here. I'm going to go to step 1, put in the phone of the contact, and then I'm going to go to email and put in the email of the contact. So that's how it's going to find the contact in the CRM and know that it's on the right one. There is one field that has to be marked. You can see with the asterisk, just put a true here. It would work if you put false too, but just put true. Then what we want to do is come all the way down to files right here. After description, there's this files. You're going to want to click right here. And what we want to do is we want to link the folder of fake 2. So we want it to be this folder right here. So the way we do that is we click on number 2 here where we found or created the folder. So we actually want to put something that's called the alternate link in here. So you can scroll down to find it, or you could just type alternate and it'll pull it up multiple times. It's showing in step 2 and step 3, but we want to do in step 2 where the folder is. And I'm going to click this right here. All right, and that's it. Now I'm going to press continue. And we're going to test this step. Okay, so it says it was success. Now we want to go back to the CRM and look up that contact. Refresh if you need to make sure it brings in the new data. And now if we come down to this file section, you'll see right here we've got this file and you've got this clickable link. And if we click that link, it takes us straight to that folder. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and hit publish. All right, now that Zap is published. You could rename it to something else if you'd like. And if you want to make adjustments, you just hit edit and you can make adjustments within that Zap. All right, so now let me show you some other possibilities and explain how you can tie all this stuff together. So you can see I actually have 4 different Zaps here that create estimate sheets for my company. So let me open one of these up and just show you. So this is what paths look like. And it's set up the same way to where I'm catching a webhook that is being sent from the CRM. And then these paths, what you can do is say, hey, if this criteria is met, do that. So let's look at this path rule right here. And what it's saying is if the estimator text exactly matches Justin Noyes, go down this. So these are my estimators, Justin, Dustin, Travis, Chris, and the webhook is going to send that information, right? So whoever is listed as the estimator right here, it's going to go down that path. That way, when it's creating a folder in the drive, it's creating it in their sales folder. And then you can see it's just the same thing all the way down that we just created, but that's where you could use paths so that if you have multiple people, it just goes to the right spot. These two right here automatically do it when a estimate gets set. And then these are there so that the estimator could manually do it if they wanted to. So let me show you really quick how you could do like a manual one, the way that my company has it set up. So I'm gonna go create new workflow from scratch. In my trigger, I'm gonna say tag, contact tag. For the filters, I'll say tag added. And we're gonna create a new tag, say like auto create exterior sheet, something like that. I'm gonna press add new tag, save. And now I'm gonna do a webhook, save. And then I'm actually at the end gonna say remove tag. And I'm gonna remove that tag that I just made. So that way I could do this multiple times, right? If I add the tag, it'll shoot it off to the webhook, then I'll remove the tag, so then I could add the tag again. I would name this like manual create estimate, something like that. And then here I would, whatever the webhook is here is what I would put in this webhook right here. And you can actually, the webhook that Zapier gives you here, you can put it in multiple of these things right here. So you could put the same webhook. So let's go save. I'm gonna go back. Like this webhook right here that we just created and we put right there. I could copy this and I could also use that same webhook and put it in this manually create one. So I could just drop that in there, save, and it'll work. And the reason I have it set up this way is, let's say that it was by mistake labeled as an interior when in fact it was an exterior. All that my estimator would need to do to create an interior spreadsheet that's pre-filled is just go to the contact and add the tag, right? So you could have one of these for interior, one of these for exterior, and then you could have multiple zaps like you saw that I did. And then that way when we're looking at this onboarding webhook one, you can see I have two webhooks right here. If it's both interior and exterior, that way it'll make both the interior and the exterior. Because in one webhook, I would say, you know, this is exterior. So I'm going to send it to the Zap that does the exterior. And on this one, I'm going to call it interior. And that'll send it to the Zap that does the interior. It might be best to put a wait step in here. Sometimes it can be a little strange. But if you give it like just 1 minute or even like a half a minute, it allows the exterior to run first, create that folder, put it all in there. So then when the interior runs, it finds the folder that was already created and doesn't accidentally create two folders. You could even just create a third Zap that does both an interior and an exterior. So you just have one webhook. There's multiple different ways that you can do this and make it work. But hopefully that makes sense and you understand how you can set this up to meet your company's specific needs and get it integrated. All right, so hopefully this was useful. If you have any questions, feel free to email us. We can point you in the right direction and help you get these things set up. But I can tell you from actually doing this, it's really powerful for our company. It keeps everything ultra organized. And then in my company, we also use the app script to create the jobs for us in the calendar. And then in there, there'll be a link to the folder that's in the drive, as well as the CRM contact. So whether I'm looking at it here on the calendar, I can quickly go to the folder or go to the contact in the CRM. And if I'm looking at them on the CRM, I can quickly go to the folder. Like it's all just tied together and makes it really easy and nice to navigate things and just be able to see everything.